Hello, career thought leaders. We are here for Friday in career services, talking about the ways that we can use AI in our work to help us be more effective with candidates. And if you've joined the show before, or you've heard me talk about AI, you know that we're not talking about it really replacing coaches, but how it can work together in our process with us and be a tool that we use to help get better insights for our clients. So feel free to say hello. Let me know that you're joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 ways that we can use AI to help in personal branding. So you might not think about it this way, but I've had some recent experiences that have helped me realize that there are so much powerful things we could do to have these tools help us and our clients really understand how we connect with an audience or how we could connect with an audience in a different way. So I'm happy to see you. Thanks, Anthony. Thank you for joining me. Good to see you today. And we are going to dive in with the top way. And this is a aha moment I had last week, when I was using a system called Cast Magic, which we use. It was a one-time payment deal at one time, and it was one of those that just knocked it out of the park. So I do a lot of one-time deals. I play around with AppSumo and some of those tools that give you a newly launching technology. And I got into this system called Cast Magic from some of the communities that I belong in. They were talking about it. And what you do is you upload a video and it turns that video into written content. And there are some similar tools today that do other things, but similar things. But Cast Magic just blew me away from the very beginning. And it's only gotten better. So we actually have a link. Obviously, it's an affiliate link because I do love what they do, but you don't have to use them to do the things that we're going to talk about today. It's Cast Magic. So you can actually go to careertl.com /Cast Magic and get that tool, get the deal that we have through our affiliate link. But here's the thing, and you can do this using ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. What I did is I put some of our testimonial videos into the system, and it has a process called Marketing Assistant. We're going to reverse engineer that here in a second. That turns your testimonials into a marketing plan. And I was just blown away. So I put in a few testimonials for our upcoming symposium, and the content that it gave me from that testimonial, it was like a 10-second testimonial because my team had created this great marketing video that had a very short, like maybe 20-second video in it. And it turned that testimonial into a benefits analysis, target market analysis, and content. So here's some blurbs that you could use in your marketing. All of that from one 10-second, 20-second testimonial. And so that's what got me thinking, like, oh my goodness, why didn't I think of this before? Right? So we got to get a new thing. We're like, oh my goodness. So here's what you could do with your clients, students, candidates, doesn't matter. If they have any kind of recommendations that they've gotten from people, a LinkedIn recommendation, a performance review, even an email that someone said nice about them. I have this in my email. I'd recommend everyone start one. I call it funnies and fuzzies. So it's funny things that people send me, or fuzzies, right? When people send me nice, oh, I appreciated this, or whatever it might be. I save all my funnies and fuzzies in a folder in my email so that then when I need them, I can go and read them, right? And this is one of those times that you could use this. But again, if people have LinkedIn recommendations, anything, pull a few of those, you put it into ChatGPT, and here's what you're going to ask it to do for you. Based on these testimonials, tell me my unique value proposition. Tell me the value that I bring to this audience. Now, if you've built some context back behind it, you know, we love our context, that this is your audience, this is the type of thing you're doing, you build some of that context in, it will give you an even better answer. But you get some good stuff just from putting in a few testimonials and asking it for your benefits, your unique value proposition. Depending on how much content you have in that, you could even ask it to give you, target audience information. For most of us, putting the target audience information in first would probably be better, but you can play around with it and see. And Really, this is like a 2 or 3 sentence testimonial, and I got an amazing output of content from doing that. Now, it's not the first time that I've done that, and if you own a career services business or even at a career services center on a campus, taking testimonials and putting those in and asking ChatGPT or Claude to come up with marketing content for you is just it's so cool because we always tell people it's hard to write about yourself, right? It's hard to write a resume about yourself. It's hard to write a LinkedIn profile about yourself. But when you have these testimonials that can be translated into content, you just get so many nuggets. And we're not talking about being able to copy that content and paste it into somewhere and boom, there it is. Don't touch it. No, but you get these nuggets, you get these phrases, you get these ideas that then you can put together, maybe spruce up your LinkedIn profile, spruce up your resume, spruce up your sales page for a service, which I do a lot of, right? We get lots of testimonials for our programs. I take those, I put them into any of these systems and I get the themes, but now I've got some great ideas from this Cast Magic ideas to not only ask for it to create content from them, but for it to look for the benefits, the selling proposition, etc., just based off of a testimonial, which it can do. And it's so amazing to watch it. Now, when you are so the Gallup strengths might a little bit, you could try that out and see, but the Gallup strengths isn't giving you the direct impact you've had on an individual, which is I think why the testimonial is different, is because it's saying this is how someone felt after they attended our symposium. And so then it can take from that testimonial, not just stuff about me, but about how I impact the audience, which the strengths finder just doesn't have that connection to the audience. Whereas if we're working with a job seeker and they got a LinkedIn recommendation, it isn't just what that recommendation says about them, but it says about their relationship to their target audience, the person that gave them the recommendation. And so there's this element in that piece of it, Anthony, that isn't going to be in an assessment report. Now, you could still do some of the same things with an assessment report. You could get the themes, you can get some of that, but it's not as personalized as a testimonial, and it doesn't have that direct connection to the target audience that a testimonial does. And that's, of course, where the branding piece comes in, because the Strengths Finder is giving you the internal piece of your brand, very important, but the testimonial is giving you how that connects to the external piece of your brand, both the external perceptions of you and the value that you have for your target audience. And that's what we want to help people do. So a lot of times we might spend all this time on the internal piece, which is important. I almost said too much time, but I don't know that you can spend too much time on that. It's important that people understand what their strengths are, what their differentiator, well, not differentiators, because that takes the audience piece, but what their strengths are, who they are. So important. And then we have to take it the next step and figure out who's your audience and what do they care about, because that's going to lead to the differentiators. You really can't say what your differentiators are if you're not looking at what the audience is and what they care about, because the differentiators really only matter in that context of the audience. So we're taking it that next step from, yes, this is who you are, to what kind of the so what, what appeals to that audience. And that's what's coming out in the testimonials that people give, or the recommendations, or whatever feedback loop they might be coming through. That's what we're looking for. I'd love to see what you get when you put in more of the internal stuff, and then when you add in the external piece of it to really get that value. So you've got your unique promise, and you all know that we define brand as unique promise of value. Your unique and your promise are more internal, right? Your unique is how it's different than others, but it's still kind of internal. And then the value piece is, how does that relate to and connect to what your audience needs, what they care about? And we're helping people connect those dots. That's what we want to spend our time doing. And just a fascinating, fun way to do that, to pull in some of those testimonials or things that people might have gotten from other folks. Or if you're working with someone that doesn't have those yet, to just send out an email to a few people and say, hey, I'm doing a project and I'd love to hear how you would describe me, or a little snippet of the best time that you've seen me be successful with you, or whatever it might be, where you might get some of those little snippets and recommendations. So that's the first way that we can think about using these tools in your personal branding. Now, I would say that when you go and ask AI about this, because I was playing around with this too, they say, oh, put your resume in and have it tell you your strengths. Well, that's only good if your resume actually has some good content in it. So, yes, you could do that, but it's kind of expecting that you've done the deep dig work to build the resume. If you've built the resume on water, it's just going to disintegrate when you try to pick it apart, right? So if you've built the resume on a solid foundation of really doing some work in who you are and how you're different and what your strengths are, then that resume could be pulled out of into a branding statement or into LinkedIn. But if that resume is very surface level, it's just kind of hollowly built, still, it's a good starting point, but probably not for getting into brand, because brand requires that pull from the depth. It's kind of like making a copy of a copy, right? You're going to end up with weirdness if you try to pull your brand from a superficially built resume. Okay, so just be careful about that when you're getting advice or seeing things online about what to do. So then you could put in some stories. And I played around with this a couple of years ago when we were going through in our digital branding program. We talk a lot about using the 4D stories. So how the origin story, we call it design, where did you come from, the what you love to do, kind of the passion story, the why do you keep doing it story, the this is my promise, and then the story about your future. So those are our 4 stories. And what we've been experimenting with is, if you put those stories into AI, can you ask it to draw themes out of those stories? And we have resume writers that are using it this way. If you do an interview with a client, you put that interview notes into AI and ask it to draw out some themes, some stories, some key points that are important about your person. What does it see when it analyzes the patterns of your stories? And there's some fun things that you can do there. We have to remember that it's additive, it's not replacement. So it's not going to replace the human or the coach approach of looking at those stories, or even the client's self-reflection of those stories, but it can add some additional value, maybe catch some things that we didn't see or pull out a theme that we didn't see. The most powerful way to do that is to set the context first with who's your audience and why, what do they care about. And we've done a little bit that in our past Friday lives, where we go through setting up a customer persona for a hiring manager, right? What's the industry? What's the company? What's the role that they play? And you can plug all of that into ChatGPT and get some great insights into the themes. So what are the industry challenges that are going on right now? What's this industry facing? What's this specific VP of marketing worried about in this industry? And you can build that persona of who this person is, what they're worried about. And it's big data. So it does a pretty good job of building that persona. In our interview one from a few weeks ago, we went through that because it's really a powerful tool for researching people prior to an interview. So once you've done that piece and you've built that context of who your audience is, then you upload your stories. And now it's not just picking at the themes it sees in your stories, but the themes that are relevant to the audience. And that's where the magic happens, right? Is that now we don't just have our story, but we have how it relates to that audience's needs, their challenges, the trends that they're facing right now, what keeps them up at night, all of those good, juicy questions that we can plug into AI. So that's where we want to go with the story piece. Now, the challenge is that you have to tell those stories. AI, you don't want to let AI make them up for you based on like a resume or something like that. I want you to actually tell the story. There's so much power for your client to be telling that story, not to let AI write it for them. And it's not just about what it could do, what it can't do. It's about the empowerment that comes from verbalizing, articulating, massaging, internalizing those stories about our successes, the stories about who we are, what we do, why we love what we do, all of those things Could AI write it for my resume? Maybe, but I always call it the hollow chocolate bunny, which now here in the US coming back up to Easter, right? Or in countries that celebrate Easter, right? We don't want to be a hollow chocolate bunny. We want to be the nice, thick, solid, right? That this is built on a foundation of really having confidence in ourselves. Although I love myself some marshmallow cream in mine. That might be the very juicy story, right? But you've got to come in with those stories. You've got to write or speak them. Now, obviously, all these AI tools can translate or transcribe. So you're bringing in that story, and then you're asking the tools to find the themes, to find the connection points, and maybe even to draft some value proposition statements for you. Never have it just draft one. That's like having a team of marketers at your disposal and only using one of them, right? We wouldn't do that. So we want to ask all of them. And you can just use one system or you could use multiple systems, but the idea is that you're asking for multiple ideas. So I'm going to say write 5 value proposition headlines or value proposition statements based on this, my audience and my stories, and get some and see what they sound like. Now, one of the other things, and this is kind of my third idea here, is that I love to ask it to write formulas. So give me 5 formulas for LinkedIn headlines, and it will give you those 5 formulas. Then you say, okay, so based on my stories and my audience, my customer persona here, tell me 5 or write those 5 into headlines for me. So using those 5 formulas, write 5 headlines for me, or even write 2 headlines in each formula. Now you got 10 to choose from. And you will, sometimes people get overwhelmed, and that's fine. You don't have to ask for 10. But I love it because then I'm pulling pieces from here or there. And that's where the coaching piece comes in. That's where the branding strategist piece comes in. Because why are people choosing one thing over another? Why does one thing speak to you over another? And how can we help people walk through that process? Because a lot of times what comes up then is that it's not really about the words perhaps, but it's about how they make me feel, or that I feel vulnerable if I use that bold of a word, or weaving in an accomplishment feels really uncomfortable for me. And that's where the coaching piece comes in, because those are the things that we can help people tackle that are probably getting in the way of their career success way more than the actual words of a LinkedIn headline are, is that they're afraid to feel visible. They're afraid to share those accomplishments. They don't want to feel boastful. All of those beliefs that are kind of washing away the work that we might be doing up here a little bit closer to the surface, where we're choosing a LinkedIn headline and those types of things. So that is what we want to think about, is how do we help people really get the ideas, but then we're there to help work them through the choices that they're going to have to make as they go through and put pen to paper, or choose which statements they use, or choose how they present their information. It's all really gets into the mindset piece more than just the words on the page or the way they write their LinkedIn profile or their resume themselves, right? None of that is going to be helpful if they're not, if they don't have the right mindset. So I do want to just share, we've got 2 things coming up. One is our certified personal brand strategist program. And our personal brand strategist program is all about that deep work. Who are you? What do you want to be? What skills do you want to use? What are your interests? It's that really deep work. Who do you want to be known as? What do you want to be known for? And we do that type of work with coaches. We do that type of work with executives. We do that with career changers. What do you want to be known for? And that's just the internal piece of who are you, plus the external piece of who needs to know you. Just right. That's big questions. And so this is the program that we have coming up on February 12th. So next Wednesday, this starts, where we go through these elements of someone's brand. How do we help them extract who they are, connect to the audience, express that, and then be comfortable living that every single day. And we use a few models to do that. We give people tools that they can use with clients to really help them dive in. And it's hard to describe this program. So we've got some few testimonials on here because it's really transformational. It is not a surface level program. It's a transformational. Who are you? What do you want to be known for? And how do we help clients figure that out? Because those are such big questions. And that's what this program is all about. Now, sometimes people wonder, like, what's the difference between that and our career transition coach class? So in our career transition coach class, which is coming up at the beginning of March, is much more of the how do we help people figure out what roles they want to play, what companies they want to be in, and connect who they are to the working world. So it takes it from that base level of who are you and what do you want to be known for to what jobs do you want to do. And that transition is hard for people. I've talked to so many people, oh, I did The Secret and I do all these things to figure out who I am. But then you've got to figure out what job titles does that equate to in the working world, because that's what people are looking for. They're hiring a job title, and we have to be able to connect to that to find a job, to present ourselves as an employee to a company, or even as a consultant or as a business owner. We have to be able to make those very specific, kind of more tactical connections between who we are and what I can do for you. And so those are the differences between those two programs. I've had a few people ask me, so I just wanted to explain the differences there. But I hope you'll go out and just try some of these ideas. So we talked about using testimonials or recommendations to get some ideas for your unique value proposition statements. Then we talked about taking your stories, putting your stories into these systems. Again, you don't have to use specifics, and we're not talking about putting in anything that's necessarily identifying, and having it give you those ideas of the themes, the brand, especially connected to a target audience. And then the last piece being asking for it to create some templates for you, some, if you want to call them equations for a LinkedIn profile or even for a unique value proposition, have it create a few ideas and then give you examples and options to pull from based on the content that you might put in. So hopefully that's helpful. I look forward to hearing how you're experimenting with some of these systems, and we will see you in 2 weeks for another Friday AI in Career Services. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.